I'm glad to have you here. Follow my story until the end and comment the city you're watching from. What I'm about to share changed everything I thought I knew about my daughter. On my 63rd birthday, my daughter gave me a pair of wireless earbuds. 3 days later, a former military friend looked at them and went pale. "Ashley," he whispered, "these have been modified. You need to call the police." I didn't believe him. It was my daughter, my only child, but when I discovered what she was really planning, I realized that birthday gift was never a gift at all. The coffee maker clicked on at 6:30 a.m., same as every morning for the past 6 years. I shuffled into the kitchen wearing Robert's old Postal Service sweatshirt, the one with the faded logo I couldn't bring myself to throw away. Outside my kitchen window, the Carolina sky was that particular shade of February gray that makes everything feel a little colder than the thermometer says. I reached for 2 mugs out of habit, then caught myself. Set one back in the cabinet. Some mornings I still forgot. My phone sat silent on the counter. No calls, no texts, no cheerful, "Happy birthday, Mom" notification lighting up the screen. I poured cream into my coffee and watched it swirl. 63 years old today. Most people my age, they stop expecting birthday celebrations. You just become another year older, and that's not exactly something folks rush to acknowledge. Still, a text would have been nice. The mail truck rumbled past around 9. Earl always ran early on Tuesdays. I heard something heavy hit the porch with a thud that rattled the front door. When I opened it, there was a box, medium-sized, professionally wrapped with my name printed neatly across the label in that generic shipping font. Return address, Chloe Bennett, Charlotte, North Carolina. My daughter. I carried it inside my hands, suddenly unsteady. Set it on the kitchen table and just stared at it for a full minute. Chloe and I weren't estranged, not exactly. We talked. We saw each other on holidays. But something had shifted after Robert died 6 years ago. It was like we'd lost the translator between us, the person who knew how to bridge the gap when mother and daughter couldn't find the words. I loved her more than my own life. I'd walk through fire for that girl. But somewhere along the way, we drifted into being polite strangers who happened to share a last name. The box opened easily. Inside, nestled in bubble wrap, was a pair of wireless earbuds. White, sleek, expensive looking. The kind of thing I'd never buy for myself, because the wired ones work just fine, thank you very much. There was a note, too, handwritten on Chloe's cream-colored stationery, the fancy kind with her initials embossed at the top. Mom thought these might help you stay connected. No more tangled cords getting in your way. Happy 63rd. Love, always Chloe. I sat down hard in the kitchen chair. She'd remembered. Out of everyone, all the friends I'd lost touch with after Robert passed, the coworkers from the post office who'd promised to visit, and never did my own sister in Florida who barely called anymore, my daughter had remembered. The kitchen blurred. I blinked fast, but the tears came anyway. For just a second, I wasn't in that quiet kitchen anymore. I was standing in our old driveway on a Sunday morning, and Chloe was 7 years old, wobbling on her first real bicycle. The training wheels had come off that morning, and she was terrified. "Mommy, I'm going to fall," her voice high and panicked. I ran alongside her, one hand on the seat. "I've got you, sweetheart. I won't let you fall." She pedaled harder, found her balance. I let go without telling her. She rode on her own 10 feet 20-30 before she realized. When she looked back and saw me standing there, her face split into the biggest smile I'd ever seen. "I did it, Mommy, I did it." She circled back, threw her small arms around my waist. "I trust you, Mommy. You won't let me fall." Robert stood on the porch in his blue polo shirt, holding up the camera, smiling at both of us. He was still healthy then. Still here. I blinked and the memory dissolved like sugar in water. The kitchen was quiet again. Cold coffee, empty house. But I had the earbuds in my hand, and for the first time in a long time, I felt something close to warmth. I charged them that afternoon, reading through the instruction manual, even though I barely understood half the technical terms. Tomorrow I'd drive over to the distribution center where I used to work. Show them off to Curtis and the guys. Maybe grab lunch at that diner on Trade Street afterward. That night I set the charging case on my nightstand and watched the little LED blink green. Such small things, really. Just plastic and circuitry. But they felt like a bridge back to someone I missed. I had no idea I'd just placed a listening device next to my bed. Curtis Henley had been through 2 tours in Afghanistan working signal intelligence. So when he picked up those earbuds Wednesday morning, his face went pale in a way I'd never seen before. I'd driven over to the Charlotte Postal Distribution Center around 10, same as I did most Wednesdays. Old habits die hard. Even after retirement, I missed the rhythm of that place, the hum of sorting machines, the smell of cardboard and diesel, the guys ribbing each other over coffee that could strip paint off a car. Curtis was on his lunch break when I walked into the break room. Howard and Gerald were there too, halfway through sandwiches that looked like they'd been sitting in the vending machine since last Thursday. "Check this out," I said, pulling the earbuds from my purse. "Chloe sent these for my birthday." Howard grinned around a mouthful of ham and cheese. "Look at you getting all modern. What's next, Ashley? One of those smartwatches? Maybe a TikTok account?" "Don't push it," I said, but I was smiling. It felt good to have something to show off, something that said my daughter was thinking about me. Curtis set down his coffee. "Can I see those?" Something in his tone made me pause, but I handed them over. Curtis was quiet by nature, always had been. 15 years working next to the guy, and I'd learned that when Curtis spoke, it was because he had something worth saying. He didn't waste words on small talk or gossip. When he told you something, you could take it to the bank. He turned the earbuds over in his hands. Slow, deliberate, like he was looking for something specific. Then he opened the charging case and examined the interior. His expression changed. The color drained from his face so fast I thought he might be having a heart attack. "Curtis!" My voice came out higher than I meant it to. "You all right?" He looked up at me, and there was something in his eyes I'd only seen once before, the day he told us about the roadside device that almost took out his convoy in Kandahar. That same careful, controlled fear of someone who knows exactly how bad things can get. "Where did you get these?" His voice was flat. Careful. "I just told you. My daughter. Birthday gift." I tried to laugh it off. "What, you think they're going to explode or something?" "Ashley." He didn't smile. "These have been modified. This isn't standard electronics." The break room went quiet. Howard stopped chewing. Gerald set his sandwich down. "Modified how?" I asked, though part of me didn't want to know. Curtis set the earbuds down on the table like they might bite him. "You remember what I did in the service signal intelligence? Communications equipment, surveillance tech, monitoring devices." He tapped the charging case with one finger. "I know what altered hardware looks like when I see it." "And this?" I heard my voice shaking. "Someone's been inside these. See this?" He pointed to a tiny seam along the plastic edge. "This has been opened and resealed. And here," he showed me the circuit board visible through the charging port. "That chip that's not manufacturer standard. And this antenna configuration," his jaw tightened. "Ashley, these aren't just earbuds anymore." My stomach dropped. "You're saying—" I couldn't finish the sentence. "I'm saying someone modified these for surveillance." Curtis looked at me, and the pity in his face made it worse somehow. "Audio capture, location tracking, maybe remote activation. I can't tell without proper equipment, but I've seen enough of this tech to know." "Come on, Curtis." The defensiveness in my voice sounded hollow even to me. "My daughter gave these to me. You're telling me she—" "I'm not telling you anything about your daughter." Curtis stood up, and the kindness in his face hurt more than anger would have. "I'm telling you that someone modified these devices. Could be a manufacturing defect from overseas. Could be something else. Either way, this isn't something you ignore." "He's right, Ashley." Howard's voice was quiet. Serious in a way Howard never was. "If Curtis says something's wrong, something's wrong. That man can spot a fake Rolex from across a parking lot." I looked down at the earbuds. They looked the same as they had this morning. Small, white, harmless. But Curtis had never steered me wrong. Not once in 15 years. "All right," I heard myself say. "I'll take them in." Curtis nodded. "Today, Ashley. During lunch break. Don't wait. Who would I even—" "The police. Charlotte Mecklenburg Station on East Trade. Ask for someone in their fraud or elder abuse division." He pulled out his phone. "I'm texting you the address now." My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped my purse getting my phone out. "Curtis, I'm sure there's a reasonable explanation. Maybe it's just maybe." His eyes met mine. "But you need to find out for sure. Because if I'm right, someone can hear every word you say when you're wearing these. They can track every place you go. They can listen to your phone calls, your conversations, everything." The room tilted slightly. "Every word," I whispered. "Everything." I drove to the police station on my lunch break, telling myself the whole way that Curtis had to be mistaken. Maybe retirement had made him paranoid. Maybe I was dragging a good man's military instincts into something perfectly innocent. He wasn't mistaken. The Charlotte-Mecklenburg police station on East Trade Street looked exactly like every police station I'd ever seen in movies. Gray institutional smelling faintly of coffee, and cleaning solution that didn't quite mask older, less pleasant smells. I sat in the lobby for 20 minutes, clutching my purse with the earbuds inside before a detective came out to meet me. "Mrs. Bennett, I'm Detective James Romero." He was maybe mid-50s with gray at his temples and the kind of steady voice that came from 20 years of delivering bad news. "I understand you have concerns about some electronics." His office was small, cluttered with case files stacked on every available surface. I sat across from him, the earbuds on the desk between us like evidence at a crime scene. I explained everything. The birthday gift, Curtis's warning, the feeling that something was wrong even though I desperately wanted to believe it wasn't. Romero listened without interrupting. When I finished, he picked up the earbuds carefully like they might break. "I'm going to have our digital forensics specialist take a look. It'll take about 20 minutes. Is that all right?" I nodded, not trusting my voice. He left me alone in that office. 20 minutes felt like 20 hours. When the door finally opened, Romero came back with a younger man carrying a laptop covered in stickers from tech companies I'd never heard of. "Mrs. Bennett, this is Daniel Torres, our digital forensics specialist." Torres was maybe 30, with kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. The kind of young man who probably helped his grandmother set up her smartphone without making her feel stupid about it. His expression told me everything before he even opened his mouth. "Mrs. Bennett, these have been modified." His voice was gentle, but there was no sugarcoating. "Extensively." The room tilted. "What does that mean?" I heard myself ask. Torres opened his laptop, pulled up what looked like a technical schematic. "Someone's installed additional hardware, an enhanced microphone that can pick up conversations from up to 30 feet away, a GPS tracker that updates your location in real time, and most concerning, remote activation capability." "Remote activation," I repeated. The words didn't make sense. "It means someone can turn these on even when you're not wearing them. They're not just passive listening devices, they're active surveillance equipment." My hands gripped the armrests of the chair. "So someone could hear me," I said slowly, "when I'm wearing them." "Not just when you're wearing them," Torres said quietly. "When they're in the same room. If they're on your nightstand, they can hear you sleeping. If they're in your purse, they hear your phone calls. If they're charging in your kitchen, they hear every conversation you have." I thought about last night, talking to myself while I made dinner, the things you say when you think you're alone. Private thoughts, moments of weakness, that phone call with my sister where I'd cried about how lonely the house felt. "Everything," my voice cracked. "Everything, Mrs. Bennett." Romero leaned forward. "Torres, can you tell us anything about the data transmission?" "The devices are configured to send encrypted data packets over both Bluetooth and cellular. Very sophisticated setup. And there's a storage chip that's already logged approximately 48 hours of audio." 48 hours, I whispered. "I've only had them for 3 days." "Someone activated them remotely as soon as they were powered on," Torres said. The implications crashed over me like cold water. "My daughter gave these to me." I looked at Romero. The words felt like knives coming out. "You think she—" "I don't think anything yet," Romero said. His voice was firm but not unkind. "But Mrs. Bennett, I need you to listen to me very carefully. Do not confront your daughter. Not yet." "What?" I stood up without meaning to. If someone's listening to me, I need to— "If you confront her now, she'll deny it. Get defensive. Maybe get angry. And then whatever's happening here goes underground. We'll never know what this is about, and you'll never be safe." I sat back down. My legs wouldn't hold me anyway. "Right now, she doesn't know you know. That's our advantage." Romero's eyes were steady. "So here's what you're going to do. You're going to act normal. You're going to wear the earbuds. You're going to go about your life. And we're going to see how she reacts." "You want me to let her listen to me?" The idea made my skin crawl. "We need evidence, Mrs. Bennett. We need to know what she's planning, because people don't do this out of curiosity." Torres nodded. "Surveillance equipment of this sophistication, someone's planning something big. Money, property, access to something they want." "My daughter wouldn't," but even as I said it, I wasn't sure anymore. Romero slid the earbuds back across the desk. "Take these home. Charge them. Wear them tomorrow. Talk about things she might react to. Your finances, your health, your property. See what happens. And I couldn't finish. If she responds to things only someone listening could know, we'll know for sure. And then we build a case. He pulled out a business card, wrote his cell number on the back. Call me immediately if anything happens. Anything at all. I picked up the earbuds. They felt contaminated, poisoned, but I put them in my purse. Mrs. Bennett, Romero's voice stopped me at the door. I know this is hard, but whatever's happening, we're going to figure it out. You're not alone in this. I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. That night I set the earbuds on my kitchen counter and stared at them for over an hour. The coffee maker hummed its familiar tune. The refrigerator clicked on and off. Normal sounds in a house that didn't feel normal anymore. I thought about Chloe's note. Thought these might help you stay connected. Connected to what? To whom I made a decision sitting there in that quiet kitchen. If my daughter wanted to listen to me, I'd give her something to hear. I'd play along. I'd feed her exactly what she wanted to hear, and I'd watch how she moved. It was the decision that would save my life. Thursday morning, I put the earbuds in my ears and started talking to myself like a woman who'd forgotten she wasn't alone. They fit comfortably. That made it worse somehow how easily they nestled into place, how natural they felt, like they belonged there. I moved around the kitchen making coffee, letting my thoughts spill out the way people do when they think no one's listening. Should probably think about that rental property, I said to the empty room. Robert left me that duplex on Morrison Street. Market's been good lately. Maybe it's time to sell. I paused, added cream to my coffee with hands that wanted to shake. And I really should update my will. Estate planning. Getting to that age where these things matter. The words tasted like ash, but I kept going. Maybe I do need help managing everything. It's a lot for one person. Every sentence felt like a betrayal. Not of Chloe, of myself, of the truth. But Romero had been clear. We needed evidence. I went about my morning, read the paper, watered the plants, fixed the loose hinge on the bathroom cabinet that had been driving me crazy for weeks. Normal things. But the whole time I felt those earbuds like spiders in my ears. My phone buzzed at 11:47 a.m. The screen lit up with Chloe's name. My heart stopped. I stared at the message for a full 30 seconds before my brain could process the words. Hi, Mom. Random thought. Are you thinking about selling the duplex? We should talk about estate planning, too. These things can get complicated, love you. I'd spoken those exact words at 8:30 this morning, alone in my kitchen, to no one. And now, less than 3 hours later, here they were, reflected back at me through my daughter's text message. Too fast, too specific, too exact. My hands went cold. The phone nearly slipped from my grip. I slid down the kitchen wall until I was sitting on the floor, my back against the cabinet where I kept Robert's old coffee mugs. This was real. Curtis was right. Romero was right. My daughter, my only child, the girl I'd raised alone after her father died, was listening to every word I said. The phone buzzed again. Another message. Are you there, Mom? Everything okay? I forced my fingers to work. Typed out a response. Maybe. Still thinking about it. 3 dots appeared immediately. She was typing. I can help if you want. Estate planning can be overwhelming. These things get complicated at our age. I don't want you stressed about it. Love you. At our age. I was 63. Chloe was 32. But she'd said our age like we were peers. Like I needed her guidance, her help, her management. I set the phone down before I threw it. Called Romero with shaking hands. She responded, I said when he picked up. 3 hours after I said it. Exact words. You were right. I'm sorry, Mrs. Bennett. And he sounded like he meant it. But now we know. Now we can move forward. What do I do? Exactly what you've been doing. Keep talking. Keep living your life. But start paying attention to everything else. Check your house for signs someone's been inside. Look at your mail, your bills, your financial statements. See if anything else is off. You think I think we're looking at a bigger picture here. The earbuds are just one piece. After I hung up, I started looking. Really looking. The spare key I kept hidden under the planter by the front door, still there, but the dirt around it looked disturbed. Fresh fingerprints in the dust. My filing cabinet in the basement not quite closed all the way. I always shut it completely. The latch stuck if you didn't. The stack of mail on the kitchen counter rearranged. Subtly but wrong. I always sorted them by size, left to right. Now they were scattered. Someone had been in my house. The doorbell rang at 6 that evening. I looked through the peephole, and there was Chloe, holding 2 bags from Big Ed's BBQ on Central Avenue, smiling like this was the most natural thing in the world. My daughter hadn't dropped by unannounced in over a year. I opened the door. "Hi, Mom." Her smile was bright, too bright. "I was in the neighborhood and thought I'd bring dinner. Hope you haven't eaten yet." We ate at the kitchen table, the same table where I'd opened her birthday gift 4 days ago. She asked about my day, my sleep, the guys at the post office, small talk with hooks hidden in it. "How are you feeling lately?" She cut her pulled pork with precise movements. "Last week on the phone you sounded really tired." "I'm fine, honey. It's just..." She reached across the table, patted my hand. "At your age, Mom, it's smart to think ahead. About health, about finances, about what happens if something unexpected comes up." At your age again. "Dad would have wanted you taken care of," she continued. Her voice was soft, caring. "He'd want to know you weren't struggling alone with all this." There it was, the subtle message. You're alone. You're struggling. You need help. "Memory doing okay?" She took a sip of sweet tea, casual as breathing. "Last Tuesday you forgot to call me back." I hadn't forgotten anything. I'd never promised to call. But she said it like established fact, like my memory was already unreliable. I saw it then, clear as the nose on my face. She wasn't just listening to collect information. She was building a case. Every word I said, every invented forgetfulness, every planted seed of doubt, she was constructing a version of me that didn't exist yet. A version that needed help, that couldn't manage alone. That required someone to step in and take over. "Yeah," I heard myself say. The lie tasted like poison. "Guess I have been a little foggy lately." Her smile widened, just a fraction, but I saw it. "It's okay, Mom. That's completely normal at your age. That's what I'm here for. We'll figure this out together." After she left, I stood in the kitchen for a long time. Then I checked the locks. Once, twice, a third time because I couldn't remember if I'd already checked them. Except I had. I knew I had, but doubt crept in anyway. That's what she was doing, planting doubt in my own mind about my own capabilities. I looked at the earbuds in their charging case on the counter. She was listening. She was watching. She was planning something. And I was already 3 steps behind Friday morning. I wore the earbuds again. Played my part like an actress in a show I never auditioned for. "Getting so forgetful," I said to the empty kitchen. "Couldn't remember if I paid the electric bill this month. Should probably set up automatic payments before I mess something up." The lie sat heavy on my tongue. Within 3 hours, Chloe texted, "Hi, Mom. Just thinking, do you need help setting up auto pay for your bills? I can come over this weekend and get everything organized for you." I stared at that smiley face emoji for a solid minute. That afternoon, I tried another test. Stood in my bedroom, earbuds in, and said out loud, "Felt dizzy getting out of the car today. Probably nothing, but it scared me a bit." Another lie. I felt fine. Chloe called within 2 hours. Not texted, called. "Mom, are you okay?" "You mentioned feeling dizzy." Her voice dripped with concern that felt rehearsed, practiced. "Have you seen Dr. Patterson lately? Maybe we should schedule a checkup. Dizziness at your age can be serious." "I'm fine, honey. Just stood up too fast." "Still, we should be careful. I worry about you living alone in that big house." A pause. What if something happened and no one was there to help? After we hung up, I sat on the edge of my bed and stared at my hands. She was good. Really good. Every response was perfectly calibrated. Caring enough to seem genuine. Concerned enough to justify intervention. Building a narrative where I was declining, forgetting, getting dizzy, needing help. Saturday morning, I made my move. "Maybe I do need someone to help manage things," I said to the coffee maker. Let my voice sound tired, a little defeated. "It's getting to be too much. Bills, appointments, decisions. Maybe Chloe's right." The words made me physically ill, but they were the key to the trap. By 2 p.m., my phone rang. "Mom, I've been thinking." Chloe's voice was gentle. So gentle it made my skin crawl. "What you said about needing help, there's no shame in that. That's what family is for. Maybe we should look into some options. Power of attorney, maybe. Just so someone can help with bills and legal stuff if you need it. Power of attorney. Legal control over my finances, my decisions, my life. Maybe, I said softly. I'll think about it. Take your time, Mom. No pressure. I just want you safe and taken care of. That's all Dad would have wanted too. She invoked Robert's name like a shield. Like bringing up my dead husband somehow made her manipulations noble. After she hung up, I noticed something. The furnace was making a grinding noise. Real problem this time, the kind that needed attention before it turned into an expensive emergency. I grabbed a flashlight and headed to the basement. The basement smelled like concrete and old cardboard, and 6 years of accumulated loneliness. Robert used to call it his domain, his workshop, his storage, his kingdom of boxes we'd been meaning to sort through someday. Someday never came. The furnace squatted in the corner like a sleeping metal beast. I knelt down with my flashlight, found the problem minor issue with the pilot light assembly. Nothing I couldn't fix myself with the warranty information. The filing cabinet was across the basement, pushed against the far wall. Gray metal dented on one corner from when Robert dropped it, moving it down here. We'd laughed about that dent. He'd been trying to show off carry it himself instead of waiting for help. I hadn't opened it in months. The drawer stuck when I pulled the handle, then gave with a rusty squeal that echoed in the empty space. Inside were all the things you accumulate in a lifetime insurance papers, yellowed at the edges. Tax returns from the 90s, the dishwasher manual from a machine we'd replaced a decade ago. Home warranties filed under H. I pulled the folder. Thick, overstuffed with papers I should have organized years ago. But there was something else tucked behind it. Another folder. Thin. Too new. Too clean compared to everything around it. My hands started shaking before I even opened it. The tab was blank. No label. I carried it over to the workbench where the light was better. Set it down. Opened it with fingers that didn't want to cooperate. The first thing I saw was a header in bold professional font. The basement got very cold. Below the header were forms. Official-looking forms with the state seal of North Carolina. Legal language laid out in neat blocks of text. My personal information already filled in full name, date of birth, address, social security number. How did she even have my social security number memorized? But it was the margins that made my blood turn to ice. Notes, in Chloe's handwriting, small, neat, efficient. Mom forgets appointments. Document dates, confused about finances. Get bank statements showing this gets dizzy. Witness need doctor visit to confirm memory issues. Collect more examples. Witness statements. Ask Derek to help file petition by March 15th, March 15th. That was 3 weeks away. My legs gave out. I sat down hard on the basement steps folder sliding from my hands. Papers scattered across the concrete floor like evidence at a crime scene. Which is exactly what this was. Evidence of a crime in progress. I picked up another sheet. Power of attorney forms. Already filled out with my information blank space where my signature should go. Another conservatorship paperwork. Legal terminology that boiled down to one simple thing: someone else controlling my money, my property, my choices. A timeline written in Chloe's handwriting, November. Begin documentation, December. Install monitoring, birthday, January. Build case, February. Obtain medical evidence, March 15th. File petition. She'd been planning this for 4 months. The earbuds weren't a birthday gift. They were a tool. Step 2, in a carefully orchestrated plan to take away every right, I had to speak for myself to decide where I lived, what I did with my money, whether I could drive or vote or sign my own name to a piece of paper. I wasn't in the basement anymore. I was in our old driveway watching Chloe learn to ride her bike, hearing her say, "You'll always catch me right." Always, I'd promised, but that little girl was gone. Maybe she'd never existed outside of my own hopes and memories. The woman who'd planted surveillance devices in birthday earbuds and hidden legal documents in my basement, I didn't know her at all. I gathered the papers with hands that shook so badly the pages rattled, climbed those basement steps carrying my daughter's plan to erase me from my own life. This wasn't just about money. This was about taking my identity, my autonomy, my personhood. This was about making me disappear without laying a hand on me. Sunday morning, I drove to First Union Bank on South Tryon Street, the one I'd used for 30 years, where they knew my name, where Robert and I had opened our first joint account when we got married, where I thought my money was safe. Jordan, the loan officer, was maybe 30. Nice kid. Always asked about retirement, how I was adjusting, whether I'd taken up any new hobbies. The kind of polite interest that made banking feel less like business and more like community. He smiled when he saw me walk in. "Mrs. Bennett, good to see you. What brings you in today?" "Just wanted to review my accounts. Make sure everything's in order." "Of course. Let me pull up your file." He typed on his computer. The smile faltered slightly. "Actually, Mrs. Bennett, someone called last month asking about your home equity line eligibility." My coffee I'd stopped at Starbucks on the way went cold in my hand. "Someone called about my accounts." "Yes, a woman. Said she was helping her mother manage things and wanted to know about the process for a HELOC." He pulled up notes. "She asked specifically about the equity in your home, what the approval process would be, how long it would take." I never authorized anyone to call about my accounts. My voice came out steady, flat, cold. Jordan's smile disappeared completely. She mentioned you were considering granting her power of attorney to help with financial planning. Said she wanted to get information ahead of time so she'd know how to help you when the time came." "What else did she ask about?" He scrolled through his notes and I watched his face go pale. "She asked about your checking account balance, your savings accounts, whether you had any CDs or investment accounts with us, the process for adding someone as a co-owner on accounts." "And you told her?" "I gave her general information only," he said quickly. "No specific account details. But Mrs. Bennett, I should have verified with you first. I'm sorry. She was very convincing, and she had a lot of your personal information." "Flag everything," I said. "Every account. No information goes to anyone without my direct in-person approval. 2-factor authentication on all online access. I want alerts on every transaction over $50. "Of course, right away." His fingers flew over the keyboard. "Mrs. Bennett is everything." "How much equity do I have in my house?" I asked. He checked. "Based on your last appraisal, approximately $380,000, nearly $400,000, sitting there." And Chloe was already circling it like a shark. I left the bank with my chest tight and my hands shaking. But I wasn't done. Monday morning I called my insurance company. Routine call, or so I thought. I'd been meaning to update my mailing address ever since Robert passed. Kept forgetting to notify everyone. The agent who answered was chipper, professional. "Of course, Mrs. Bennett, let me pull up your policy," I heard typing. "Oh, and we have that beneficiary change from 4 months ago on file, so you're all set there." I was pouring coffee. My hand froze mid-pour. "What change?" "The beneficiary update. Changed from your estate to let me see Nicole Chloe Bennett, your daughter. We have the notarized form with your signature right here." The kitchen tilted. Coffee splashed over the counter. I barely noticed. "I never signed anything." Silence on the line. Long, heavy, uncomfortable. "Ma'am, we have a witnessed notarized document. It's been on file since September." September. 5 months ago. 2 months before the surveillance earbuds. This had been in motion for even longer than I'd thought. "That signature is forged." My voice came out flat. Dead. "I'm reporting this as fraud. I'm filing a police report today." "Mrs. Bennett, How much is the policy worth?" More typing, papers rustling on her end. $250,000 and $1,000. $250,000. Written in my daughter's name, with a signature that wasn't mine. "I'll need copies of that document," I said. "Email them to me immediately, and I'll need to speak with your fraud department." "Of course, I'm so sorry, Mrs. Bennett." I hung up before she could finish. $250,000 in life insurance, $380,000 in home equity, whatever I had in savings and retirement accounts. Chloe wasn't just planning to control my money, she was planning to take all of it. By 2 that afternoon, I was back in Detective Romero's office. I slid the guardianship folder across his desk, then the printed emails from the insurance company showing the forged beneficiary form. Romero read through everything slowly. His expression darkened with each page. $250,000, he said quietly. "That's serious motive, Mrs. Bennett. She forged my signature, got it notarized, the whole thing. We'll subpoena the documents. Find out who the notary was who witnessed it." He set the papers down and looked at me. "But Mrs. Bennett, there's something else you need to know." He turned his computer monitor toward me. pulled up a file. A photo filled the screen. A man I'd never seen before. Dark-haired, good-looking in that smooth, polished way that never sat right with me. 30-something, confident smile, expensive haircut. Derek Nash, age 34. Romero clicked through screens. Arrest record out of Raleigh, North Carolina. My stomach dropped. Financial exploitation of an elderly victim. He brought up another document. Previous girlfriend's grandmother. Name was Dorothy Martinez, 78 years old. The photo showed an elderly woman with kind eyes and gray hair. What happened to her? I asked, though part of me didn't want to know. Derek started dating the granddaughter Sarah Morrison about 5 years ago. Gained the grandmother's trust over 18 months. Got himself named as power of attorney. Then systematically drained her accounts. Laundered $80,000 over a year and a half. By the time the family realized what was happening, most of it was gone. And he was arrested. Charges were filed, but Mrs. Martinez passed away before the trial, natural causes pneumonia. Family was grieving. Didn't want to go through a lengthy court battle. They settled out of court and Derek disappeared. Romero pulled up another file. He resurfaced in Charlotte 2 years ago. No arrests since, but we've had our eye on him. He has a pattern. A pattern? He targets women with family money, gets close to them, finds their vulnerabilities, then helps them exploit their elderly relatives. Romero's eyes met mine. Mrs. Bennett, this is your daughter's boyfriend, and he's done this exact thing before. The room spun. Chloe has a boyfriend. My voice sounded far away. She never mentioned, they've been together about 10 months. He's very careful about keeping a low profile. But we've got him on their financial connections. Romero pulled up bank records. Your daughter's in significant debt. He showed me the records. My security clearance as the account holder apparently extended to seeing what my daughter owed. Business debts, $85,000 from a failed interior design firm. Credit cards maxed out $42,000 total across 5 cards. Recent cash advances, another $15,000, car loan delinquent, 2 months behind. Eviction notice, 3 months back rent on her apartment. Total debt load is approximately $130,000, Romero said. She's drowning Mrs. Bennett. I thought about Chloe's designer handbag when she came to dinner, her expensive haircut, the new car I'd seen in my driveway, all bought on credit she couldn't pay back. Derek found someone desperate, Romero continued, someone with access to family money, and he's walking her through the same playbook he used before. But she's my daughter, I whispered. She wouldn't. She is, Romero said gently. But desperation makes people do things they never thought they'd do. And Derek's very good at manipulation. He showed me another photo. Chloe and Derek together at some restaurant. Her face bright, smiling, happy in a way I hadn't seen in years. We think he offered her a way out. Clear her debts. Start fresh. All she had to do was help him access your money. By having me declared incompetent. It's effective, Romero said. Clean. Legal. Once she's your guardian, she controls everything. Your house, your accounts, your insurance policies. She could sell the house, cash out your retirement, collect the life insurance if... He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. If I died, Chloe would get $250,000 immediately. And with guardianship, she'd control when and how and where I received medical care. The implications settled over me like a shroud. What do I do? I asked. We keep building the case. The surveillance, the forgery, the guardianship documents, it's enough to investigate. But I'd like to get them on tape. Discussing the plan, making it crystal clear what they're doing and why. How? Romero picked up the earbuds, still in their evidence bag on his desk. You keep wearing these. You keep playing your part. And we wait for them to slip up. People always do. And if they don't slip up, they will, he said. Greed makes people careless. So does desperation. Tuesday evening, 1 week exactly since my birthday, since this nightmare began. I was sitting in my living room wearing the earbuds, pretending to watch the evening news. The television murmured about weather patterns and traffic accidents, but I wasn't listening. I'd been wearing these things every evening for the past week. Waiting. Playing my part. Saying things designed to make Chloe think I was declining, forgetting needing help. It was exhausting. More exhausting than any physical labor I'd ever done at the post office. Then at 8:47 p.m. I heard it. A phone ringing. Not mine, it was sitting on the coffee table silent, but I heard it clearly through the earbuds. Chloe's phone. And then I realized the earbuds weren't just monitoring me. They were connected to Chloe's devices, too. Some kind of network I didn't understand. Torres would know the technical details. All I knew was that I was hearing my daughter's phone call in real time. A male voice answered. Sharp, impatient. Did she sign yet? My blood went cold. Chloe's voice tight with stress. Not yet, Derek. She's being more careful than I expected. Derek, the man from Romero's files, the one who'd done this before. We're running out of time. His voice had an edge like a knife. My creditors aren't waiting anymore. I've got people breathing down my neck for money I don't have. I'm trying. Try harder. The words cracked like a whip. You owe me 30 grand from that loan I gave you for the business. Remember the business that failed your debt. Your problem, not mine. I could hear Chloe starting to cry. Small sounds like she was trying to hold it in. Derek, please. She's my mother. I hate doing this. You should have thought about that before you came to me for money. No sympathy in his voice, none at all. Besides, what's she going to do with it? She's old, alone, no other family to speak of, just sitting on $500,000 in assets like a dragon hoarding gold. What if she finds out? Derek laughed, actually laughed. She won't. Old people don't understand technology. They don't know how to protect themselves. That's why this works so beautifully. But listen to me very carefully, Chloe. His voice went quiet, dangerous. I have people waiting for their money. Gambling debts, casino debts. These aren't people you can just ignore. You understand what happens if I can't pay them. Silence. They'll come after me, he continued. And if they come after me, they'll find out about you, about us, about this whole arrangement, and then we both go down. I understand, Chloe whispered. Good. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to get her to that bank meeting Thursday morning. You're going to get her to sign anything we can use as evidence of incapacity. Power of attorney paperwork would be ideal, but even a simple statement in front of a bank officer about her confusion will work. And then we file the guardianship petition. You showed me the documents, they're perfect. You've documented her memory loss, her confusion, her dizziness. We get a friendly doctor to evaluate her. I know a guy who will testify to whatever we need. 2 weeks, maybe 3, and you'll have full legal control. And my debts. We access the home equity immediately. That's $380,000. We pay off your debts, pay off mine, and split the rest. Then we sit tight, wait for the natural progression of things. She's 63. How many good years does she really have left? My hand flew to my mouth to stop the sound that wanted to come out. Once she's gone, Derek continued, voice smooth as silk now, the life insurance pays out. Another $250,000 are right to you. Clean. Legal. No one can question it because you'll have been her guardian. You'll have been taking care of her, acting in her best interests. What about medical care? Chloe's voice was barely audible. You'd make decisions about her care, what she needs, what she doesn't need. Sometimes the kindest thing is to let nature take its course. No heroic measures, no aggressive treatment, just comfort care. A pause. People understand that. It's compassionate. It's what she would have wanted. They were discussing my death, planning it, like I was already gone. Derek, I don't know if I can. You can. His voice turned sharp again. You have to. Thursday morning, 10 a.m. at First Union Bank. Set it up. Get her there. And Chloe, don't screw this up. Too much riding on it. Okay. Call me after. Let me know how it went. The call ended. I sat frozen on my couch, earbuds still in heart hammering so hard I thought it might break through my ribs. They weren't just planning to steal from me. They were planning my death. Slow, legal, disguised as compassionate care. And my daughter, my only child, the baby I'd rocked to sleep and raised alone after Robert died, she'd agreed to it. My hands were shaking so violently I could barely get my phone out. Called Romero. I have everything, I said when he answered. My voice sounded strange, distant, like it belonged to someone else. Full confession. Both of them. Conspiracy, financial exploitation, and Derek talking about letting me die once she has guardianship. Did you record it? The earbuds. Torres said they stored audio. It should all be there. Don't do anything, Romero said immediately. Don't confront her. Don't react. Can you do that? Mrs. Bennett? Ashley, can you act normal for 2 more days? I thought about Chloe's voice on that call. Small, crying, scared. She was a victim too. Derek had manipulated her, threatened her, pushed her into this. But she'd still made choices, every step of the way. She'd chosen to plant the earbuds, chosen to forge my signature, chosen to build a legal case to strip away my rights, chosen to agree when Derek discussed my death like a business transaction. Yes, I said. I can do it. Good. Let me coordinate with the bank. We'll set up the meeting for Thursday like she's expecting, but it'll be on our terms, with witnesses, with evidence, and with officers ready to make arrests. After I hung up, I sat in that living room for a long time. Eventually, I walked to the mantel, picked up the photo I kept there. Chloe at 7 years old on my shoulders at Freedom Park, gap-toothed grin, pure joy on her face. The note stuck to the frame, written in crayon, "Best mom ever." I stared at that photo until my eyes burned. That little girl was gone. Maybe she'd never really existed outside my memories and hopes. The woman who'd agreed to let me die for money, I didn't know her at all. I set the photo back on the mantel. Then I opened my messages and typed carefully. Chloe, honey, I've been thinking about what you said, about getting help with managing things. You're right. It's getting to be too much. Let's meet at the bank Thursday morning, 10 a.m. I think I'm ready to set up that power of attorney. I hit send before I could change my mind. 3 dots appeared immediately. Really, Mom, that's wonderful. I'm so proud of you for making this decision. This is the right thing. I'll set everything up. Love you so much. 2 heart emojis. I stared at those hearts until they blurred. Then I forwarded the recording to Romero and turned off my phone. Tomorrow I'd play my part one more time. Thursday the trap would close, and my daughter would finally face the consequences of what she'd done. Wednesday night sleep was impossible. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, watching shadows from the streetlight outside shift across the plaster. Every creak of the house settling felt amplified. The heating system clicking on sounded like gunshots. The refrigerator humming downstairs might as well have been an earthquake. At midnight, I was still wide awake. At 1 a.m., I'd counted every crack in the ceiling plaster. 23. I'd never noticed them before. At 2 a.m., I gave up pretending and turned on the bedside lamp. Robert's reading glasses were still on his nightstand. 6 years gone, and I couldn't bring myself to move them. Sometimes I'd put them on even though they made everything blurry just to feel close to him again. I picked them up now, turned them over in my hands. I don't know how to do this, I whispered to the empty room. I don't know how to lose her and survive it. The glasses didn't answer. Of course they didn't, but I could almost hear Robert's voice anyway. Steady, calm. The way he'd been when Chloe broke her arm falling off the monkey bars in 3rd grade, and I was the one falling apart while he drove us to the hospital. You're stronger than you think, Ash. You always have been. I don't feel strong, I told the darkness. At 3 a.m., I gave up entirely, put on Robert's old robe, navy blue fleece worn soft from years of wear, and went downstairs. The kitchen was dark except for the streetlight filtering through the window above the sink. I didn't turn on the lights, just sat at the table in the shadows and let myself feel everything I'd been holding back for the past week. Fear, deep bone-shaking fear about what tomorrow would bring. Betrayal, the kind that hollows you out from the inside. And grief. Oh God, the grief. Drowning, suffocating grief for a daughter who was still alive but lost to me anyway. I kept seeing her face from different moments, flashes of memory that felt like knife wounds. Chloe at 7 on her first bike laughing as she rode away from me, so proud of herself. Chloe at 13 crying in my arms after her best friend moved away. Will I always feel this sad, Mom? No, sweetheart. I promise it gets better. Chloe at 16 furious at me for not letting her go to some party. I hate you. You're ruining my life. Then apologizing 2 hours later, crying, saying she didn't mean it. Chloe at 26 at Robert's funeral, hollow-eyed, lost, clinging to me like I was the only solid thing in a world that had stopped making sense. I don't know how to do this without Dad. We'll figure it out together, I'd told her, stroking her hair like I did when she was little. You and me. We're all we've got now. But somewhere between that funeral and today, I'd lost her anyway. At 4 a.m., I found myself walking through the house with my flashlight like a ghost haunting my own life. I stopped in the hallway where we'd marked Chloe's height on the door frame. Started when she was 2, ended when she was 16, and stopped caring about such things. I ran my fingers over the marks, felt the indentations in the wood. Chloe age 2, 33 inches. Chloe age 5, 42 inches. Chloe age 10, 54 inches. Each mark a moment in time. Each one a memory of who we used to be. I ended up in Chloe's old bedroom. I'd kept it exactly as she left it when she moved out 10 years ago. Her swimming trophies lined up on the shelf, 3 gold medals from regionals her junior year. Her bulletin board still covered in photos Chloe and her high school friends at prom, at the beach, at graduation. Concert tickets from bands I'd never heard of. Movie stubs from dates with boys whose names I'd forgotten. Her stuffed animals sat in a row on the shelf above her desk. Mr. Hoppity, the rabbit she'd gotten for her 4th birthday, sat in the place of honor in the center. I picked him up. He was worn now, one ear hanging by threads, stuffing coming out of a seam I'd promised to fix years ago and never had. She'd carried this rabbit everywhere until she was 12. Slept with it every night. Cried for an hour when she thought she'd lost it at the grocery store. Turned out it had fallen behind the bread display. "I thought I lost Mr. Hoppity forever, Mommy," she'd sobbed in the parking lot, clutching the rabbit like it might disappear again. "I thought I'd never get him back." "I'll always help you find what you've lost," I'd promised her. But I couldn't help her find herself now. Couldn't help her find the person she used to be before debt and desperation and Derek Nash twisted her into someone I didn't recognize. I sat on her bed holding that worn-out rabbit and cried. Not quiet tears, not controlled grief. Full-body sobs that shook my shoulders and made my throat raw and probably woke the neighbors through the walls. I cried for the daughter I'd lost. For the future I'd imagined that would never happen now. For grandchildren I might never meet because my daughter had chosen money over everything else, including her own mother's life. I cried for Robert, who died before he had to see what our little girl became. That was a mercy, at least. He'd been spared this. And I cried for myself. For the mother who'd tried so hard, worked 2 jobs after Robert got sick, made every school play and swim meet, saved for her college, taught her right from wrong, and still somehow ended up here about to watch her only child get arrested. What had I done wrong? Where had I failed her? The questions circled like vultures, and I had no answers. When the tears finally stopped, the sky outside was starting to lighten. Almost dawn. Almost Thursday. Almost time. I put Mr. Hoppity back on the shelf, straightened the comforter on her bed, turned off the light. "I'm sorry," I whispered to the empty room, to the ghost of the daughter she used to be. "I'm so sorry. For what I wasn't even sure anymore. Sorry I couldn't save her. Sorry I had to do this. Sorry we'd come to this point at all. Just sorry. For everything." I went back to my room, stood in the shower until the water ran cold. Got dressed in the dark because I couldn't bear to see my own face in the mirror yet. When I finally made myself go downstairs and start the coffee, the sun was rising over Charlotte. It was Thursday morning, and nothing would ever be the same again. I dressed like I was going to war, because in a way I was. Navy blue pants, the good ones I usually saved for church. A cream blouse with pearl buttons. The pearl earrings Robert had given me for our 20th anniversary back when we were still young and thought we had forever. I wanted to look competent, put together, like a woman who had all her faculties and knew exactly what she was doing. Because that's what I was. That's what I had to prove. I stood in front of the bathroom mirror putting on lipstick with hands that shook. Had to wipe it off and try again 3 times before I got it right. The woman staring back at me looked older than 63. Tired, scared, but determined. "You can do this," I told my reflection. "You have to do this." My phone rang at 8. Detective Romero. "Everything's in place, Mrs. Bennett. Rebecca Turner is already at the bank. We have 2 undercover officers in the lobby. You won't recognize them. They'll look like regular customers. Torres is in a van outside monitoring audio. Everything will be recorded, documented, legally sound." What if she doesn't show up? The thought hit me suddenly. What if Derek warned her somehow? "She'll show up," Romero said with certainty. "She thinks she's winning. People don't run when they think they're about to get everything they want." "Okay. Mrs. Bennett Ashley, how are you holding up?" I looked at myself in the mirror again. Saw the exhaustion, the grief, the fear. "I'm not," I told him honestly, "but I'm doing it anyway." That's courage. Real courage isn't being unafraid. It's being terrified and doing the thing anyway. After we hung up, I stood there for another 5 minutes, just breathing. In and out. In and out. Then I picked up my purse, walked out to my car, and drove to First Union Bank. I arrived at 9:45, 15 minutes early, parked in my usual spot near the east entrance where there was a little more shade. Sat in the car with the engine off, hands gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles went white. This was it. No going back after today. A mother shouldn't have to do this. Shouldn't have to trap her own child. Shouldn't have to be the one who sets the wheels in motion that end with handcuffs and jail time and a criminal record. But a daughter shouldn't have done what Chloe did either. At 9:50, I made myself get out of the car. My legs felt like water. Each step toward those glass doors felt like walking through concrete. The lobby was busy, the usual Thursday morning crowd. Elderly man depositing his Social Security check. Young couple asking about mortgage rates. Woman with 2 kids in tow trying to handle a transaction while keeping them from destroying the waiting area. Normal people doing normal things. None of them knew that upstairs in a conference room, a family was about to destroy itself. I took the elevator to the 2nd floor, watched the numbers light up, felt my stomach drop with each floor. The conference room was at the end of the hall, door closed. Through the small window, I could see Romero and Rebecca Turner already inside. I stopped outside the door. Put my hand on the handle. Couldn't make myself turn it. Last chance to back out, a voice in my head whispered. Last chance to pretend this isn't happening. To forgive her. To let it go. But I couldn't. Not after hearing that recording. Not after seeing those guardianship papers. Not after learning she'd agreed to let me die for money. Some things you can't forgive. Some things you can't let go. I opened the door. The conference room was exactly as corporate and soulless as I'd expected. Beige walls, beige carpet, long table with uncomfortable chairs. The kind of room where thousands of business deals had been made and broken, and now mine would be too. It smelled like coffee and carpet cleaner, and something else, fear maybe. Or grief. Hard to tell the difference. Rebecca Turner stood as I entered. She was maybe 45, with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense haircut that said she'd seen every scam and wouldn't fall for any of them. Former FBI Romero had told me. White-collar crime division. Mrs. Bennett. She shook my hand. Firm professional grip. We're ready when you are. The table was set with neat stacks of documents. Evidence, all of it hidden in plain sight. Waiting for Chloe to walk into the trap. I sat down on one side. They sat beside me. United front against my own daughter. Romero leaned over. You're doing the right thing, he said quietly. Then why does it feel like dying? I whispered back. He didn't have an answer for that. At exactly 10 a.m., my daughter was always punctual. There was a knock on the door. It opened. And there she was. Chloe walked in like she owned the world. Navy blazer over a white silk blouse. Pencil skirt. Heels that probably cost more than my monthly electric bill. Hair perfect. She'd always had beautiful hair, thick and dark like Robert's. Makeup flawless. She looked like a young professional woman who had everything under control. Her purse was designer. I recognized the logo from commercials. Probably cost $800. Money she didn't have charged to credit cards she couldn't pay off. She looked successful, competent, like someone you'd trust with your finances, your future, your life. If you didn't look closely at her eyes, didn't see the tightness around her mouth, didn't notice how her left hand clenched her portfolio so tight her knuckles were white. Hi, Mom. Her smile was bright, so bright it hurt to look at. She crossed the room, leaned down to hug me. I let her. Felt her arms around me for what might be the last time. Smelled her perfume, Chanel No. 5, the same brand she'd worn since college. The same perfume I'd bought her for her 21st birthday. For just 1 second, she was my daughter again. My little girl. The baby I'd rocked to sleep and stayed up with through ear infections and taught to read and cheered for at swim meets. I wanted to grab her and shake her and scream, "Why? Why did you do this to me? To us?" But I didn't. I hugged her back and pretended everything was normal. "Ready to get everything organized?" she asked, pulling back. Her smile never wavered. "I'm so proud of you for taking this step, Mom. Dad would be proud too." The casual invocation of Robert's name using his memory as a weapon made my stomach turn. Rebecca gestured to the chair across from us. "Miss Bennett, please have a seat." Chloe sat. arranged her portfolio on the table, pulled out a pen expensive-looking, probably Mont Blanc. She was ready to watch me sign away my life. "We have some questions before we proceed with any paperwork," Rebecca continued. Her voice was calm, professional. A surgeon's voice before making the first cut. Chloe's smile faltered for just a fraction of a second. "Questions. I thought we were here to sign power of attorney documents. Mom said she was ready. We'll get to that. But first I need to clarify some things." Rebecca slid a stack of papers across the table. "Can you explain these communications?" Chloe looked down. I watched the color drain from her face in real time. Watched her realize this wasn't going the way she'd planned. The papers were printouts, emails, phone records, bank inquiry logs, everything documented, everything time-stamped. "These are inquiries you made about your mother's accounts over the past 3 months," Rebecca said. Each word precise, clinical. "November 17th, you called this bank asking about home equity lines of credit. December 3rd, you contacted her insurance company. December 15th, you requested information about her retirement accounts through her financial advisor. Would you like to explain these contacts?" Chloe's mouth opened, closed, opened again. I was helping Mom. She's been confused about her finances. I was just gathering information so I could help her understand." "That's interesting." Rebecca looked at me. "Mrs. Bennett, did you ask your daughter to make these inquiries on your behalf?" "No." My voice came out steady, stronger than I felt. "I never authorized her to contact anyone about my accounts." Chloe turned to me. "Mom, you're confused. We talked about this. You called me crying last month because you couldn't remember if you paid your electric bill. That never happened, Chloe." "It did. You were so upset. You said you needed help managing things because it was getting to be too much." "I never said that." Each word felt like a stone, heavy, final. Her eyes widened. Just a fraction. She was starting to understand this wasn't going to work. The confusion story wasn't playing. Rebecca slid more papers across. "What about these emails to your mother's bank inquiring about the process for adding a co-owner to her accounts?" I was just getting information for the future. "And this call to her insurance company asking about her policy terms and beneficiaries. I wanted to make sure she was protected. This inquiry to her financial advisor about her investment portfolio value. She asked me to, Miss Bennett." Rebecca's voice cut through like a knife. "Your mother has stated clearly that she never authorized any of these inquiries, which means you accessed information about her finances without her knowledge or consent. Do you understand the legal implications of that?" Chloe's jaw tightened. She set down her expensive pen. "Are you accusing me of something because I'm trying to help my mother, and this feels like an interrogation? We also need to discuss this." Rebecca placed another folder on the table. The guardianship petition. My guardianship folder. The one from my basement. The one Chloe thought was safely hidden behind home warranty information where no one would ever look. All the blood drained from Chloe's face. She went completely white, stared at that folder like it was a snake about to strike. "Where did you get that?" Her voice was barely a whisper. "From my basement," I said, kept my voice calm, even, like I was discussing the weather or grocery prices. "Behind the home warranty folder in the filing cabinet, where you hid it." I don't know what that is." Rebecca opened the folder, started reading. "Petition to declare Ashley Ann Bennett incapacitated and in need of a guardian. Forms filled out with your mother's personal information. Notes in the margins." She looked up. "These are your handwriting, Miss Bennett?" Chloe's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Rebecca read from the notes. "Mom forgets appointments, document dates. Confused about finances, get bank statements. Gets dizzy, witness need, doctor visit. Memory issues, collect more examples." She looked at Chloe. "You were building a case to have your mother declared incompetent." I was just researching options, in case she ever needed help in the future. That's what responsible daughters do. They plan ahead. Responsible daughters don't forge their mother's signature on legal documents." Rebecca placed another paper on the table. The insurance beneficiary form. My supposed signature large and clear on the bottom line. Chloe stared at it. I watched her mind racing, trying to find an explanation, a way out, some story that would make this okay. "I didn't forge anything. Mom must have signed it and forgotten." "We had a handwriting expert analyze it." Romero spoke for the first time, his voice quiet. authoritative. It's a forgery. A good one, admittedly. Professional work, but not good enough. That's impossible. The signature pressure is wrong. The slant is wrong. The loop on the B in Bennett is too rounded. Your mother has signed hundreds of documents with this bank over 30 years. We know her signature. Rebecca leaned forward. Who did the forgery for you, Miss Bennett? Nobody. I didn't. Derek said it would be... She stopped, closed her mouth so fast her teeth clicked together. The room went very still. Derek said what? Rebecca asked softly. Derek Nash, your boyfriend. Chloe didn't answer, just stared at the table. Your boyfriend with a criminal record for doing this exact same thing to his previous girlfriend's elderly grandmother, Romero added. Still nothing. Rebecca pulled out another document. Derek Lawrence Nash, age 34, arrested in Raleigh 4 years ago for financial exploitation of Dorothy Martinez, age 78. Systematically drained her accounts of $180,000 over 18 months while pretending to help her granddaughter, his then-girlfriend, manage the grandmother's finances. She slid a photo across the table. Mugshot. Derek Nash. The same man from Romero's files. This is your boyfriend, Miss Bennett. Chloe looked at the photo, then at me, then back at the photo. It's not like that. He was helping you exploit your mother. No! Chloe stood up fast. Her chair scraped against the floor with a sound like a scream. This is insane. I'm trying to help my mother, and you're treating me like some kind of criminal. Sit down, Chloe. My voice was quiet, but something in it made her freeze. She looked at me, really looked at me for the first time since she'd walked in, and I saw the moment she understood, saw it dawn in her eyes like sunrise. I knew everything. Mom, please. Sit down. She sat, slowly, like her legs wouldn't hold her anymore. Rebecca pressed a button on a small recorder in the center of the table. My voice filled the room. The staged confusion I'd performed in my kitchen, talking about forgetting things, needing help, getting overwhelmed. See, Chloe's voice was desperate now, grasping at straws. She was confused. I was just documenting her symptoms for her own protection. Any good daughter would... Rebecca pressed another button. This time a different voice filled the room. Male, sharp, angry. Did she sign yet? Chloe's face went from white to gray. Not yet, Derek. She's being more careful than I expected. The recording played. Every word, every threat. Derek's gambling debts. Chloe's $130,000 in debt. The plan to access my home equity. The discussion of my death. Once she's gone, the life insurance pays out. Another $250,000 right to you. What about medical care? Sometimes the kindest thing is to let nature take its course. No heroic measures. When it got to that part, the part where they casually discussed withholding medical care, essentially planning my death, I saw Chloe close her eyes. The recording ended. The silence in that room was so complete I could hear my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. Could hear Chloe's shallow breathing. Could hear the hum of the fluorescent lights overhead. The surveillance earbuds. Rebecca's voice broke the silence. She placed them on the table, right in the center. Small, white, innocent-looking. Except they weren't innocent at all. You gave your mother modified electronics capable of recording and tracking her every move. That's a violation of federal wiretapping laws, North Carolina privacy statutes, and elder abuse regulations under both state and federal law. Chloe was shaking now. I could see her hands trembling on the table. Derek set those up, she whispered. I didn't even know how they worked. I just gave them to her. He said it was just to help her, to make sure she was okay. You forged your mother's signature on a $250,000 insurance policy. Derek knew someone who could do it. He said it was just paperwork, just to make sure she was protected if something happened. You filed guardianship papers to have her declared incompetent. I was desperate. Chloe's voice rose. Do you understand? I was drowning. My business failed. I owed money everywhere. The credit card companies were calling 10 times a day. I was 3 months behind on rent. I was going to be evicted. I had nothing left. She looked at me, tears starting. Derek said he could help. He said it would be easy. He said you had more than you needed. He said you wouldn't even miss it. So you decided to steal it. My voice was flat, dead. I was going to pay you back. Once I got on my feet again, I was going to... You agreed when Derek discussed letting me die, Chloe. The words hung in the air like poison gas. She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. I didn't mean I wasn't actually going to. Yes or no? Did you agree when Derek said to withhold medical care when he talked about letting nature take its course? Her face crumpled. Tears spilled over. Mascara started running down her cheeks. I didn't think he was serious. I thought he was just talking. Yes or no, Chloe? She flinched like I'd slapped her. Yes, she whispered. Yes, I agreed, but I wasn't going to actually do it. How was I supposed to know that? My voice broke. How was I supposed to know where the line was? What you would actually do versus what you were just considering? She reached across the table, grabbed for my hand. Mommy, please listen to me. I'm so sorry. I never wanted to hurt you. Derek manipulated me. He threatened me. He said if I didn't help him, he'd tell everyone about my debts. He'd ruin my reputation. I looked at her hand on mine. The same hand I'd held when she learned to walk, when I taught her to tie her shoes, when her father died and the world fell apart. The same hand that had signed documents to erase my rights, my autonomy, my life. I pulled my hand away, stood up, walked toward the door. Mommy, please, her voice cracked, rose to a wail. Don't leave me. I'm still your daughter. Please. I stopped at the door, didn't turn around, couldn't look at her anymore. No, I said. Each word felt like pulling out my own teeth. My daughter died the day she decided I was worth more gone than alive. I turned then, looked at her one last time. My daughter trusted me to catch her when she fell. I never thought she'd be the one to push me. Chloe was sobbing now, ugly crying, makeup streaming down her face, snot running from her nose, completely falling apart. I'm sorry, she kept saying, over and over. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. You had choices. My voice shook, but I kept going. Every single step of the way, Chloe, you had choices. You chose to take Derek's money instead of coming to me for help. You chose to plant surveillance equipment instead of having an honest conversation. You chose to forge my signature instead of asking me to help you. I was scared. I would have helped you. The words exploded out of me. Everything I'd been holding back. If you'd just asked, if you'd come to me and said, Mom, I'm in trouble, I need help, I would have done anything. Anything. I would have sold this house, cashed out my retirement, given you every penny I had. My voice broke. All you had to do was ask, but you didn't. You chose to betray me instead. I'm sorry. Sorry isn't enough. Sorry doesn't undo what you did. Sorry doesn't give me back the last month of my life where I had to suspect my own daughter, where I had to trap you, where I had to mourn you while you were still alive. I opened the door. Goodbye, Chloe. Behind me, Romero's voice. Steady, formal, the voice of justice being served. Chloe Bennett, you're under arrest for fraud, forgery, conspiracy to commit elder abuse, and violation of federal wiretapping laws. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to an attorney. Mom, please don't do this. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Please don't leave me. Her screams followed me down the hallway, into the elevator, all the way down to the lobby. I kept walking, through the bank, through the glass doors, into the parking lot where the February sun was shining like nothing had happened, like the world hadn't just ended. I made it to my car, got inside, closed the door, and fell apart. I don't know how long I sat in that parking lot. Could have been 10 minutes. Could have been an hour. Time stopped meaning anything. I gripped the steering wheel with both hands and shook. My whole body shook like I was freezing even though it was 65 degrees and sunny. I couldn't breathe right. Couldn't catch my breath. Short, gasping sobs that made my chest hurt. This was what drowning felt like. A knock on my window made me jump. Curtis stood there. Curtis from the post office. Curtis who'd started this whole thing by recognizing the modified earbuds. I rolled down the window. Couldn't find words. Howard called me, he said quietly. Said you might need someone. How did Howard? Romero called him. Asked him to check on you. Can I sit with you? I nodded. Curtis walked around, got in the passenger seat. Didn't say anything. Just sat there. After a while, he handed me a handkerchief. Actual cloth handkerchief, the old-fashioned kind nobody carried anymore. It's clean, he said. I took it, wiped my face. It didn't help much. I just watched my daughter get arrested, I heard myself say. I did that. I turned her in. You protected yourself, Curtis said. Does that make it hurt less? No. He was quiet for a moment. But it makes it right. We sat in silence for a while longer, watched people go in and out of the bank, normal people doing normal things. None of them knew that upstairs a family had just destroyed itself. My phone rang. Romero. I answered on speaker. Hello? Mrs. Bennett. Derek Nash was just arrested at Charlotte Douglas International Airport. TSA flagged him trying to board a flight to Mexico City with a fake passport. He's in custody. Good. The word felt hollow. Are you all right? No, my voice cracked. I'm not all right at all, but I did the right thing. Didn't I tell me I did the right thing? You did, Romero said firmly. You protected yourself from people who were planning to exploit you, to harm you. That's not wrong, Mrs. Bennett. That's survival. After he hung up, Curtis looked at me. You need to go home. I can't go home yet. The house will feel it'll be too quiet. My place, then. Linda's making soup. You can sit. Rest. Not be alone. I don't want to impose Ashley. Curtis's voice was firm. You're not imposing. You're accepting help. There's a difference. So I followed Curtis's car to his house, sat at his kitchen table while Linda fussed over me, made me eat soup I didn't taste, didn't judge when I started crying again for no reason. It's not for no reason, Linda said gently, sitting beside me. You just lost your daughter. The grief is real, even if she's still alive. That made me cry harder. I stayed there until evening, until I could breathe without it feeling like knives, until I trusted myself to drive home without crashing. When I finally pulled into my driveway, the house was dark, empty. I'd never felt more alone in my life. The next week was a blur. Friday, I couldn't get out of bed. Couldn't see the point. Curtis called. I didn't answer. He showed up at my door anyway. Let himself in with the spare key I'd given him years ago for emergencies. He found me still in bed at 2 p.m. You need to eat, he said. I'm not hungry. Doesn't matter. You need to eat anyway. He made me toast, scrambled eggs, sat there until I ate at least half of it. This is what depression looks like, he said quietly. After my second tour, I spent 3 weeks in bed. Didn't see the point of getting up. Linda finally dragged me to the VA. Got me help. I'm not depressed, I'm grieving. Can be both. He was right, of course. Saturday, I forced myself to shower, get dressed, do something that looked like living. I started changing everything. Every account, every password, every piece of information Chloe might have had access to. Bank accounts closed and reopened with new numbers. Credit cards canceled and replaced. 2-factor authentication on everything. Alerts set up for every transaction over $50. It took hours, days, but it gave me something to do. Something that felt like taking control. Sunday, I went to the lawyer's office, updated my will, removed Chloe's name entirely. The lawyer, Mr. Hernandez, same man who'd handled Robert's estate, looked sad when I told him what to do. Are you sure about this? Ashley, I'm sure. This is permanent. Once it's done, I know what permanent means. Do it. So he did. Removed Chloe as beneficiary. Put everything to charities instead. The animal shelter where Robert and I had adopted our dog. The children's hospital where Chloe was born. The veterans organization Curtis volunteered with. Better strangers who'd do good than a daughter who'd chosen to do harm. Monday, I filed for a restraining order. No contact, no calls, no letters, no showing up at my house. The police helped me do it. Romero walked me through the paperwork. She's on bail, he explained. Released pending trial. Her lawyer argued she wasn't a flight risk because her whole life is here. Her whole life was here, I corrected. Not anymore. Tuesday, Chloe tried calling. 12 times. Left voicemails I didn't listen to. I blocked her number. Wednesday, letters started arriving. Expensive stationery. Her handwriting on the envelopes. I recognized it immediately, the same neat script from the guardianship notes. I threw them away unopened. Didn't even let myself wonder what they said. Thursday, 1 week exactly since the bank her lawyer called. Mrs. Bennett, I'm representing Chloe. She'd like to speak with you. No. She's very sorry for what happened. She wants a chance to explain no. Mrs. Bennett, she's your daughter. Was. She was my daughter. We're done here. I hung up. He called back 3 more times. I stopped answering. 3 weeks later, I got a call from the prosecutor's office. Assistant DA named Martinez. Young woman, maybe 30, with a voice that sounded like she'd seen too much too soon. Mrs. Bennett, I wanted to update you on the case. Chloe's lawyer is pushing for a plea deal. What kind of deal? Probation. No jail time. They're arguing she was manipulated by Derek Nash, that she was a victim too. Absolutely not. Mrs. Bennett, I understand your feelings, but do you understand what it's like to have your own child plan your death, to hear her agree when her boyfriend discusses withholding medical care, to know she valued money more than your life? Silence on the line. She made choices, I continued, every step of the way. Derek may have manipulated her, but she chose to participate. She chose to plant surveillance devices. She chose to forge my signature. She chose to agree to all of it. I agree with you, Martinez said quietly, which is why I'm fighting the plea deal. But I wanted you to know what we're dealing with. Her lawyer is good. They're going to paint her as a victim. What do you need from me? Would you be willing to testify? The thought made my stomach turn. I'd have to see her again. You would, and it won't be easy. Her lawyer will try to make you look vindictive, like an angry mother punishing her daughter. I am an angry mother, I said, but I'm not punishing her. I'm protecting myself and holding her accountable. If that means testifying, I'll do it. Good. I'll be in touch. Sentencing was scheduled for 3 months later, mid-May. Chloe's lawyer called one more time, 2 weeks before the hearing. Mrs. Bennett, please, just talk to her once. She's your daughter. She's devastated. She's in therapy. She's getting help. Can't you find it in your heart to forgive? No. Not even for closure. Not even to... My closure comes from her facing the consequences of her actions. That's all the closure I need. She's asking if you'd consider writing a character letter for the judge. Something to show she's not a monster. That she's a human being who made terrible mistakes but deserves a second chance. I laughed. Actually laughed. It sounded bitter even to my own ears. She made her character clear when she agreed to let me die for money. I have nothing to add. Mrs. Bennett, tell her this, Day said. Tell her I hope she gets help. I hope she learns from this. I hope she becomes a better person. But none of that involves me. She made her choices. Now she lives with them. I hung up. Didn't let myself cry until after the call ended. In April, Curtis invited me to a support group. Widows, he said. People who've lost spouses. They meet at the community center Tuesday nights. Linda goes. Thought you might want to come. I'm not a widow anymore, I said. Robert died 6 years ago. I should be over it by now. Grief doesn't have a timeline, Ashley, and you're dealing with a different kind of loss now. Might help to be around people who understand loss. So I went. Sat in a circle of folding chairs with 8 other women and 2 men, all of us bound by the common thread of missing someone who used to make life make sense. I'm Ashley, I said when it was my turn. My husband Robert died 6 years ago, and last month I lost my daughter too. Not to death, but to the choices she made. Bad choices. And I don't know how to grieve someone who's still alive. The woman next to me, Margaret, maybe 65, soft eyes, reached over and squeezed my hand. That's the hardest kind of loss, she said, because there's no funeral, no closure, just an empty space where someone used to be. I went back the next week, and the week after that. Started making friends. Real friends. People who didn't judge me for being angry at my daughter. Who didn't tell me I should forgive and move on. Who understood that some betrayals cut so deep you can't just slap a Band-Aid on them and call it healed. Margaret became especially close. She'd lost her husband 3 years ago. Her son had stolen from her, not as elaborate as Chloe's scheme, but painful in its own way. We understood each other. Do you miss her? Margaret asked one evening over coffee at her house. Every day, I admitted. I miss who she was, who I thought she was, the daughter I raised. But that person, I don't think she exists anymore. Maybe she never did. Or maybe she's still in there, Margaret said gently. Buried under bad choices and worse influences. Maybe someday she'll find her way back. And if she does, what then? Then you decide if you want to let her. But not now. Now you heal. I started volunteering. The senior center needed people to teach technology classes. Basic stuff, how to use email, how to spot scam calls, how to protect yourself online. Ironic, really. teaching other elderly people how to protect themselves when I'd failed so spectacularly at protecting myself. But it felt good, useful, like turning something terrible into something that might help someone else. "You're doing important work," the center director told me after my third class. "We've had 2 people avoid scams because of what you taught them." That mattered, more than I expected it to. I turned 64 on a Tuesday in February. This time I didn't wake up alone. Margaret was hosting a birthday lunch at her house. Nothing fancy, just sandwiches and cake and coffee with people who'd become family. Real family. The chosen kind. Curtis came, brought Linda Howard and Gerald, the post office crew. The women from my support group came. Margaret, Susan, Patricia, Jean. My lawyer, Mr. Hernandez, even stopped by with a card. "Just wanted to check on you," he said. "Make sure you're doing all right." "I am," I told him. Meant it. Someone handed me a gift wrapped in newspaper comics. I opened it carefully. Earbuds. The old-fashioned wired kind with the tangled cord and the frustrating knots. I laughed. Really laughed for the first time in months. "Perfect," I said. "Absolutely perfect." "Thought you might appreciate the irony," Curtis said with a rare smile. "And the honesty," I added. "No hidden features, no remote activation, just straightforward, honest earbuds that do exactly what they're supposed to do and nothing else." We ate cake, sang Happy Birthday off-key, told stories about the past year, the good ones, not the hard ones. For an afternoon, I felt normal again. Happy, even. After everyone left, I helped Margaret clean up in her kitchen. "Have you heard from Chloe?" she asked quietly. I'd been wondering when someone would ask. "She sent a letter last month. The Postal Service returned it to her. Address change. I'd redirected my mail to a P.O. box to avoid anything from her getting through." "Did you see it before it went back?" "The envelope, not the contents." "Do you wonder what it said every day?" I dried a plate slowly, carefully. But wondering does not mean I need to know. Some doors are better left closed. "Do you think you'll ever open that door again?" I thought about it. Really thought about it. "Maybe someday," I said finally. "Years from now. When I've healed enough that seeing her won't break me open again. When I can look at her without seeing surveillance earbuds and forged signatures and guardianship papers. That's fair. But not now. Not for a long time." I set the plate in the cupboard. Right now I'm learning how to be a person again. How to trust again. How to build a life that isn't defined by what she took from me. "You're doing that," Margaret said gently. "Look around. You have friends. Purpose. Community. You're rebuilding." She was right. I'd started teaching more classes at the senior center, had gotten certified in elder fraud prevention, was even working with Romero's department to develop educational materials for other potential victims. Turning pain into purpose. I joined a book club, started going to the movies again, something I hadn't done since Robert died because it felt wrong to enjoy things without him. I'd even gone on a date. Just once. Nice man named Frank Widower met him through the support group. It hadn't gone anywhere too soon, still too raw, but the fact that I'd tried felt like progress. I was living again. Not just surviving. Living. That night back in my own house, I found myself at the mantel again. The photo of Chloe was still there. 7 years old, gap-toothed grin sitting on my shoulders at Freedom Park. Best mom ever. But it wasn't the only photo anymore. Next to it, I'd added new ones. Pictures from the support group's Christmas party. Curtis and Linda at the Veterans Barbecue last summer. My book club at the library. My students from the senior center holding certificates after completing my fraud prevention class. New memories, new connections, new family. I picked up my phone, looked at the blocked contacts list. Chloe's number was still there. Had been for a year. For just a second, just 1 second, I thought about unblocking it. Thought about reaching out. Thought about trying. Then I remembered that recording. Her voice saying yes when Derek discussed my death. 1 word. That's all it took to kill whatever chance we might have had. I put the phone down, left the number blocked. Some people deserved second chances. Some people earned forgiveness through real change, real work, real accountability. Maybe Chloe would become one of those people someday. Maybe she was working on it now in therapy in whatever life she was building in the aftermath of her choices. But that work wasn't my responsibility anymore. Her healing wasn't my burden to carry. I'd spent 63 years trying to be the best mother I could be. trying to raise her right, trying to give her every opportunity. Now at 64, I was learning something new. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let go. Not with hatred, not with bitterness, but with acceptance that some relationships end, some bridges burn. And that's okay. I could honor the daughter she was while accepting that the woman she became wasn't someone I could have in my life. Both things could be true. I made myself a cup of tea, sat in Robert's old armchair, the one I'd kept even though the upholstery was worn and it didn't match anything else, looked around my living room, my life. It wasn't the life I'd imagined when Chloe was 7 and everything seemed perfect, when Robert was alive and healthy and we thought we had time, when our biggest worry was whether we'd saved enough for Chloe's college and whether she'd remember to wear sunscreen at swim practice. But it was a good life, a real life, built on truth instead of illusion. I had people who cared about me, purpose that got me out of bed in the morning, knowledge that I'd protected myself when it mattered most. That was enough. It had to be enough. So that's my story. All of it. The truth without sugarcoating. If you've stayed with me this whole time through the betrayal, the investigation, the confrontation, the aftermath, thank you. Knowing you're out there listening, reading, understanding it helps more than you know. At 64, I've learned the hardest lessons life can teach. Sometimes the people who are supposed to love you most are the ones who hurt you deepest. Sometimes protecting yourself means losing what you wanted to protect most. Sometimes courage looks like pressing charges against your own child. Sometimes healing means accepting that some relationships can't be fixed. But I've also learned this. You're stronger than you think, braver than you believe, and worth protecting especially when the people who should protect you won't. You can survive the unsurvivable. You can rebuild after destruction. You can create new family when blood family fails you. And you can do all of this while still honoring your own pain, still grieving what you've lost, still being angry about injustice. You don't have to forgive to heal. You don't have to reconcile to move forward. You don't have to set yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. If you're going through something similar right now, elder abuse, financial exploitation, family betrayal, please hear me. You're not alone. There are resources, hotlines, legal services, support groups, people who will believe you and help you. National Elder Abuse Hotline, 1-800-677-1196. Adult Protective Services in your state. Local police departments, specifically fraud and elder abuse divisions. Don't wait like I did. Don't make excuses. Don't minimize it. If something feels wrong, trust that feeling. Document everything. Keep records. Know your rights. Tell someone. Multiple someones. Don't keep it secret because you're embarrassed or ashamed. The shame belongs to the people doing the exploiting, not to you. And remember, asking for help isn't weakness. It's wisdom. People ask if I regret turning Chloe in, if I wish I'd handled it differently. The answer is complicated. I regret that it had to happen at all. I regret the world we live in where adult children see their elderly parents as ATMs instead of people. I regret that Derek Nash exists and found my daughter when she was vulnerable. But do I regret protecting myself? No. Do I regret holding her accountable? No. Do I regret choosing my own safety over her freedom? No. Because the alternative was letting her succeed. Letting her take my autonomy, my money, possibly my life. Becoming a cautionary tale instead of a survivor. And I chose to survive. Tonight before bed, I'll stand at that mantel one more time. Look at all the photos, old and new, past and present. I'll feel the grief. Still, there probably always will be. A hole in my heart shaped like the daughter I thought I had. But I'll also feel the gratitude. For Curtis seeing what I couldn't. For Romero believing me. For Margaret and the support group catching me when I fell. For all the people who became family when blood family failed. And I'll feel pride. In myself. For doing the hard thing. The right thing. For protecting myself when no one else would. Then I'll lock my doors. New locks, new keys, new security system. I'll check my accounts. All secure, all protected, all mine. I'll go to bed in a house that's safer than it's been in a year. And I'll sleep. Maybe not well, maybe not dreamlessly, but I'll sleep knowing I survived. And tomorrow I'll wake up and do it again. That's all any of us can do. Survive. Rebuild. Live. One day at a time.